The Fight is an aggressive card, possibly somewhat of a sister card to the Power, and shows a figure poised and ready for combat. The kanji character on the top of this card is To, meaning fighting and war in Japanese. The character on this card is a much older looking girl than we saw on the Power, and some suggest that her design may reflect a Chinese heritage, which would not be out of fitting with the mixture of British and Chinese genealogy of the magician Clow Reed, of whom created the Clow cards. Either way, her eyes are closed, and her position could imply a taking in of breath, a focusing and quieting of the mind, ready for the eventuality of conflict. If we follow this in line with the above-mentioned possibility of a Chinese heritage, one is reminded of the martial arts practiced around the Shaolin monasteries in China, where intensive mental control and meditation are just as important as the physical art. In folklore, an Indian priest by the name of Bodhidharma, he of whom brought Buddhism to China, introduced the monks to various techniques, some of which are connected to cyclic and rhythmic breathing, to aid training and to maintain their physical health. This type of exercise is often concerned with the taking in of life essence, an energy flow known as qi, a name known in traditional Chinese medicine, of where it is claimed that a human being essentially lives upon this energy. In terms of physical health, and also of practices such as Qigong, an energy work, or an Asian form of yoga of which has been practiced for thousands of years. These martial arts, practiced by the Shaolin or the character seen upon the fight card, may attempt to circulate this energy, the energy of which is often depicted as a whirlwind or a vortex, and is therefore quite similar to the design shown here on the buns or dango hair of the girl. This idea was to soften the body, to sharpen the mind, and therefore to be able to more easily take mastery over the situation. Much of these practices can be traced to the Chan or Zen school of Mahayana Buddhism, from which the fighting meditation used by the Shaolin is said to originate. This school of Buddhism also incorporates what is known as the Diamond Sutra, and we can see here prominently in the centre of the card a red diamond shape at the heart centre of the girl. The Diamond Sutra, especially a Chinese Tang Dynasty copy printed over 1,100 years ago, is believed by many to be amongst the oldest printed manuscripts anywhere in the world. The theme of this work, and its full translated title, The Diamond That Cuts Through Illusion, relates to the cutting through of our perceptions of the world and its ultimately illusory nature. It is a somewhat paradoxical work, and yet it asks the question of form and existence, and opens in English with lines akin to, "How may we overcome the fear of birth and death, and arrive at the state that is as indestructible as a diamond?" These verses would be well known and chanted frequently by those employed in the above-mentioned Shaolin martial arts. Of course, in our everyday life, we are far more likely to fight battles of the inner world, that is to say the social, emotional and personal, rather than find ourselves in physical conflict. In the context of this, the fight card will only challenge those of whom she deems to be worthy, and will retire from a fight should a stronger opponent be sensed elsewhere. In our own lives, we must choose which battles are worthy of our attention, which thoughts or struggles are deserving of holding in our heart centre, to become strong like the diamond, encircled by the energies of life around us. When something is worth fighting for, however, we should allow ourselves to be strengthened in our mind, to train ourselves in the defence of it, just as the fight card is ruthless in battle and unrelenting until victory. And so to draw this card is to ask oneself to find that perseverance and resilience in our own lives. In pure divination, it could represent a person of the same personality of the card, or a challenge worthy of inspiring such personality in ourselves. It also inspires us to find commitment and determination, and to emerge from the other side of whatever our battles may be, not only victorious, but strengthened by the experience.